One moment, I'm looking for a witch in the woods. The next, I'm attacked by a chimera. The next, I'm in a weird dungeon under the city being attacked by tentacles. The next, they still don't know what I'm doing in this game in terms of a story. Welcome back, Classy Crew, to my second journal in my quest to go through all of Dragon's Dogma and figure out what is this game about and is it good? And now that I'm about probably 10 hours in, at about level 20, I've reached the capital city. I can say this game has so much charm and is really winning me over. I was expecting a lot more jank from this old game, and from what I've heard that it is the best 7 out of 10 game ever made. I would argue it's so far better, and I'm told that the beginning is slow and that the beginning is the worst part, which means this game's only going to get better. So I'm ready to write this game off as like promising, maybe an 8 or a 9 out of 10 kind of game. So let me update you on what I've been doing since the last time. And the last time I was pretty much stuck between the starter town and the encampment where I fought like this big Hydra. I didn't really know what the story was about. I had my heart torn out of me and I was just sent to go do stuff for some reason. And I still don't know what I'm doing, to be fair, but that doesn't matter because I'm so distracted by so many little things of, oh, you can do this. Oh, you can do this. That it doesn't even matter that I don't know what I'm doing. There's my quest that keeps guiding me of telling me you need to go to the next, plot point, which I don't know what it's all leading to, but I'm told that it's all part of the magic and I just got to be patient. And honestly, at this point, the game is offering me enough fun that they don't really need to give me much more plot to keep me going. Now, if something would be to change in Dragon's Dogma 2, I would say maybe give a little bit more incentive to the player up front. This game is reminding me a lot of Elden Ring, Witcher 3, and Breath of the Wild right now in a lot of ways. First of all, Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, it's an open world that you can go do whatever. And the game encourages you a lot to do. And same with Breath of the Wild. What's over there? What's that? I find Dragon's Dogma has that same vibe of curiosity and rewarding the player for just going and checking out what is piquing their curiosity. It reminds me of Witcher 3 from the standpoint of quests and just really bringing in that feeling of being in that medieval fantasy element and just wandering around. You know, in Witcher 3, you play as a, I forget the term, who's hired to kill monsters. It kind of feels similar, but a little bit more generic in Dragon's Dogma. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a different experience that's just as good. And then in Breath of the Wild, I'll say the beginning, at least, you know, it's a game that really just drops you into a world and it's like, go do what you want. But there's very little story given to you at the beginning just to encourage you. You know, in the first opening scenes of Breath of the Wild, you have Zelda that's talking to you of like, yo, wake up, you need to come save me. And you're like, what's going on? And then you're on the plateau, you do whatever you want. And when you're ready to move on, the game gives you more story of like, oh my God, you've been asleep for 100 years. There is this great evil in the castle. You have to go save Zelda. And that's pretty much all they give you. And the rest of it is up to you to do what you want. So I think Dragon's Dogma could use a little bit more of that just to incentivize players even more at the beginning of the game. But anyways, enough about comparing. Let's talk about what's happening beyond the camp, because I've gone now beyond the camp. The first thing is I got to update my pawns. So I spoke to my pawns. Blue, so my two main pawns that are probably going to be regulars here are Blue, Classy, and if there's any other of you viewers who want to join the group, I'm happy to switch pawns with anybody who's in the community just to create that sense of community and have fun together. Like, generic pawns are not as cool as pawns of people I can know. Classy came back after hanging out with Blue's game, and so the pawn comes back with like new knowledge, new equipment, which was kind of cool. What I don't like though is I think that other players can put gear on your pawn when they go out, so they come back sometimes with different gear. That I don't like. Now, I'm not sure if I understand it properly, but if I do, don't mess with my pawn. You can give them items, but don't dress them up how you like. I think that's a little disrespectful and just not good. It's realistic in the sense that, hey, the pawn can wear whatever they want on their adventures, but still, when it comes back to my account, I want it wearing the same thing as when it left. Classy came back with a gift from Blue, who's a massive troll, because he gave me 4 leather caps. And if you remember in my first stream, I made the mistake of buying 4 leather caps, which I didn't like. So now this is going to be my yellow toad moment from Monster Hunter World, where I think I'm going to be plagued as the guy who bought 4 leather caps that he doesn't even like. And the funny thing is, he gave me 3 leather caps plus 1. He's like, don't worry, this one has the feather that you want in it. Turns out it didn't. It's still just an ugly leather cap. This actually has sprung into the fact that I think we now need a name for my merry band of 3 pawns and myself, so a party of 4, and everyone's like, you should call it the Wandering Leather Caps. And I was like, oh, it's so dumb, but it also makes so much sense. So now my party, for the time being, will be called the Wandering Leather Caps until we come up with a better name. And honestly, it's fitting because I'm wandering and I don't know what I'm doing. I got sidetracked. I had a quest to go check out the Everwood because my cuz, the one that was healing me in the beginning, she was seeking out this like granny in the woods. And so before I go to the capital, I'm like, I should do this because I love checking off my quest. So I go into the Witchwood, which is like a little side quest, which I really liked because it was there was this heavy fog and you couldn't really see where to go on your map unless you broke these like staffs, which kind of fogged your map. And as I was making my way, and this is kind of where the pawn system is interesting, but also can add or remove to your gaming experience. I had pawns like Blue's pawn who had done this quest before in Blue's account. And so the pawn knew where to go. And so when I took a wrong path, the pawn's like, I think we should go this way. I was like, you don't tell me where to go. I'm the main character. We're going this way. And then I got ambushed. So once I started listening to the pawns, it brought me right to the witch, which is a little bit of a cheat. I feel like that's a little bit too powerful of an incentive where, you know, in an area that's a maze that the pawn can guide you through the maze, maybe tone it down a little bit. So we made it to this shack. There was no granny there. Instead, there was a younger girl who I think is the granddaughter of the granny. The granny died. The granddaughter is just weird. I don't even know what happened to this interaction, but the cuz was like, oh, well, no granny, let's go back. I ended up with an idol, which gives me a discount in, stores, and I didn't even know about it. I left, I didn't grab the idol. People are like, go back, grab the idol, that's important. You grab it, it looks completely useless, but apparently it has purpose. So now we could go back to the next stage, which is where that big Hydra head I cut off is on a cart, and we have to get it to the capital called Gran Saren. And this is an escort quest. So basically you have a bull pulling this big head and you get attacked by, where are my notes on this? Did I not put a note on it? Didn't put a note on it. So you're basically protecting it. It reminds me a lot of the quest from Monster Hunter World called the Best Quest. Made it to Gran Saren, and there I'm actually happy the capital is not as expansive as I thought it would be. Witcher 3 has a really huge, I think it's the capital, when you make it to a city, which just, I'm like, this is too big. And I felt the starter town in Dragon's Dogma was too big, so I was really worried about the capital city. It's a little bit bigger, but not much. So it's quite comfortable, and it's well indicated on the map where you can go in terms of what the shops are. So from there, I started picking up quests, and I met a dude called Sir Byrne who wanted to be escorted to another part of the map that I hadn't ventured, which is quite far. And the chat got excited about it. They're like, oh, this quest. And they're like, shh, don't tell them. So I'm like, okay, we'll do this quest because it seems interesting. Let's see what happens. So I set off into the wild with Sir Byrne, and everything's going well until suddenly I get attacked by a random Chimera, I think that's how you pronounce it, with like 2 health bars. Like, this is just a boss in the wild. I was like, what the heck, what's this doing here? And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fight it. And spoilers, I lost. It killed me in the end. But the fact that you can the mechanics of these, like, this game is so good. So I'm climbing the Chimera, I'm focusing on trying to kill the snake that's the tail. Eventually I slice off the tail, which is so satisfying. There's blood everywhere, so now the snake can't poison me. So there's actually an advantage to the fight, unlike Monster Hunter when you break things and nothing really happens. Dragon's Dogma gets points here for that. And then there's like a goat on the back, and the goat shooting fire, and I'm like stabbing the goat on the back, and eventually the goat goes limp. It's just like, oh, and then all I have to do is deal with a lion, and I got its health down to like maybe 10%. Like, you can see I was so close to winning, but I died because I was taking so much damage. Oh my god, these things hit hard. One of my pawns wasn't properly leveled up, so I just was not ready for this. And of course Sir Byrne died, so my quest failed there. Luckily I died, because if I had not died, I could have never have completed that quest. That would have been the consequence of my actions. If I killed the Chimera, Sir Byrne would have been dead and lost for all of time. And I really like the fact that the game has consequence like this, which is why I really love how quests are made in this game. So anyway, we respawned. Sir Byrne was back with me because I game overed, and we decided not to do that. We decided to keep checking out the city. So anyways, I go back to Gran Saren, and I have now Sir Byrne in tow. So I technically have a party of 5 that I kind of cheated with. And I'm told that there is this region underneath the city called Everfall, which I love. I love like just how these things branch away, and you just do whatever you want, really. So I go underground, and it's like a spiraling staircase that just goes into the abyss. I was like, oh, this looks like a dungeon under the city. What could be down here? It's got to be some goodies. So I go down. Everything's okay until eventually I run into an ogre, which I think I fought one of these before, but this one was hitting hard. It was a much more tight area where I couldn't maneuver a lot. I thought I was going to fly off the ledge at one point. I almost died. And once again, this is when I realized one of my pawns was under leveled. So through sheer will and a lot of luck, I slayed it, kept going down where there was like a crystal called a port crystal. And this thing is a crystal I can drop anywhere in the world and teleport right to. So that's really good. And when you get to the bottom, there's tentacles that come out of everywhere. And I start fighting the tentacles. And the whole chat's like, Jay, you fool, run. You can't win. I was like, what? And I was just like slaying the tentacles. And I guess in the game, the pawns were also yelling like, we got to get out of here. So I'm about to book it. They're like, grab the crystal, you idiot. I was like, oh yeah, the crystal. Why did they trigger the tentacles before I grabbed the crystal? So I grab the crystal. I'm just running out of there and tentacles are coming out everywhere. And I'm just like, okay, I cannot fight the tentacles. I just got to get out of here. And I got my crystal. And then I met another dude. His name was Stefan. And Stefan is a little strange. He wants a book, a grimoire specifically, of great magic. And so I traced down his book. It was in a bandit's camp where the guy's like, you probably want my book, but I'm not giving it to you. And I don't want your money, so we would have to clash steel if you want it. And then he just sits there. Like, he doesn't attack me. He's just like, if you want it, you're going to have to. So I lay waste to the entire bandit camp. Everybody died. And then I found the book, brought it back to Stefan, and then it's like decision time. Do you give this guy the book that you don't know what it does, but it's of great magic? Do you keep it? Do you give him something else? Because you can do that as well. It's like, oh my God, so many choices, so many consequences. And there's only one save file, so you can't do like different save slots to see what will happen. You are committed to whatever you're doing. And I know some of you will probably like, that is horrible, but I love it. I love that. So I decided to give him the book because I'm like, what's the point? I'm going to hold on to this book and maybe nothing's going to happen. Let's play the chaos, dice and see what happens. So I gave him the book. He was really happy and he's like, I'll pay you back someday. So we'll keep an eye out for Stefan. I think he's going to come back, maybe cast some great magic at one point. We'll see what happens. Other side little things that I wanted to cover real quick. So I recognize that there's this thing called riff crystals related to the pawns, and I don't know what it is, but you get them. Like, you get more riff crystals, and I think it's a currency to recruit pawns or something. I don't know how to get them. I don't really know what to do with them. I just know that they're there now, and I'm sure I will figure it out when I need it. Other thing are discipline points, which are points that you can put into skills. So I've upped my skills. I have like shield bashes now. So I'm trying to play around with my skills. So I'm not just running and stabbing everybody, but having a little bit more finesse, more different gameplay, some combos. And it's really like unlocking all sorts of different types of gameplay for me. So I'm really enjoying that. And I learned that you can upgrade your gear, which I love. The system is so like there's 3 levels of upgrade. Usually the first level is just money. And then you need monster parts or different items to go to like level 2 or level 3. So if you really like some items or some equipment, you can upgrade them up to a certain point to extend their usefulness. And I really like that. So in terms of next step, I still have to bring Sir Byrne to where he wants. So I've set out again and I took a different path unintentionally, and I ended up at some gates to a cave, somehow completely bypassing the Chimera, because I was actually going to go back to have revenge on that Chimera and I didn't encounter it. I ended up at some gates because all I can see on the map is an X and a big like cloud of what do you call it, fog of war, so I can't like see how to get there. I can just kind of guess, oh, if I go west, southwest, I'll eventually go there. So I made it to a cave, and it looks like there's a shortcut that can be created here if I go through it. And that's where I ended the stream. So next stream, hopefully we can get Sir Byrne safely to where he wants to go. And that's going to open up where is he going? Like, what's in that part of the map? What else is going to unlock? Otherwise, I'll have to go back to the capital, because the whole point of going there was because I was bringing this head to like the king or the mayor or whatever, and then I think he was gonna give me some tasks. I didn't even talk to that guy, so I'll have to do that too when we're done playing around with Sir Byrne. So hopefully I see you on that stream or on the next journal, and until next time, keep it classy.